Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Red Donkey Projections. I'm Lucas. I have Eric here as always.
Hey guys.
And today we'll be taking a look at the chances of President Trump getting impeached and convicted. So, just to preview, impeachment is looking pretty likely. Nancy Pelosi did say she was going to bring articles Monday. Conviction, less likely, but it's still technically possible. We'll dig into the specifics of it in this video. And with that being said, let's get right into it.
So why is it that House Democrats specifically are even bringing articles of impeachment when there's like less than 2 weeks left in Donald Trump's presidency? And let's delve into that. Let's dive into that. Um, they are bringing articles of impeachment on the grounds of insurrection. So, as you probably all know, whether you're into politics or not into politics, a bunch of Donald Trump supporters basically raided the Capitol, got through the police security, and then breached it. And they basically did a lot of bad stuff that was essentially disapproved of on both Democratic and Republican sides. And everyone was in shock. And to keep in context, this was happening during the process when both chambers of Congress were certifying Biden's win. Then all of a sudden they decide to storm the Capitol, and then they have to go evacuate and go into lockdown. And then eventually, when they cleared up, both chambers finished at around 3 in the morning. So it was quite a hectic day for them. And obviously, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi was pretty infuriated, and she blamed Donald Trump for creating such a mob because before they went to raid the Capitol, Donald Trump and his family and Giuliani were supposedly egging on the mob and causing them and saying talking points and bringing up talking points that made them want to raid the Capitol, such as this isn't over, this is a trial by combat from Giuliani. So apparently, this caused them to go nuts and raid the Capitol. And therefore, Pelosi is blaming Trump for inciting insurrection, and this is how Donald Trump might get impeached a second time, which he would be the first president to get impeached twice in a presidential term. Now let's get into how that is possible and what it takes for that to happen.
Exactly. And I do want to add another point to that. It's that it's not just Democrats being blaming Trump for this. It's a lot of Republicans too. And I pulled up the screen right here. It shows that a lot of Republicans are they're losing support. Trump is losing from support from a lot of Republicans. Sorry, I worded that weirdly. For example, DeVos and Chow is the Secretary of Transport. Yes, current Secretary of Transportation. She will be resigning Monday, and Betsy DeVos, who was the former Secretary of Education. And essentially, they did end up resigning because they did quote that Trump did not do very good things. And with the Capitol storming, he essentially incited it. It was basically his fault. That's what they said that Trump did. And as a result, they did end up resigning. And the point of this is to show that Trump is losing support among Republicans. And there is a theory out there that DeVos and Chow could have resigned because they didn't really want to face the media pressure with invoking the 25th Amendment, which essentially what happens is the vice president uh, needs to agree to invoke the 25th, and the majority of the cabinet agrees. If that happens, then the president is forced to step down and the vice president becomes president. And uh, they were facing intense pressure about whether they should face the 25th, and it is possible they could have resigned because they didn't want to face that pressure. But this is definitely showing that Trump is losing support among Republicans. And Eric, you can discuss the House results that we saw in the 2020 election.
Yeah, so the House remains in Democratic majority, but they did lose some Democrats, but they still have a slight control, 222. And what this means is that potentially, along with some Republicans, or maybe along with most of the Democrats, they can impeach Donald Trump with a majority. Including two Democrats voted for the impeachment of Donald Trump. It was almost completely partisan, almost. This time, same amount of Democrats may end up impeaching Donald Trump, and they may pick up a few moderate Republicans, such as Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, who also support impeaching Trump and do not approve of his handling throughout the term.
Right, and I do want to make a point here in that a lot of the Democrats that did lose re-election, a lot of these were very, very moderate Democrats. Colin Peterson lost. Let's see, where else? Ben McAdams lost. Kendra Horn lost. Joe Cunningham lost. So a lot of these are the moderates that ended up losing re-election. And if you look at uh, the the first presidential impeachment, I don't know why I said it that way, but the first impeachment of Donald Trump, only 2 Democrats voted no on Article 1, 3 Democrats voted no on Article 2. And I do want to point out, Colin Peterson, he lost re-election. He's no longer in Congress. Jeff Van Drew switched parties to become a Republican. And Jared Golden, he is still in office. He's a very moderate Democrat. So Jared Golden's vote will be interesting. But I do think that this time he will be siding with the Democrats on this, because I feel like this time it's very clear what happened. And it's very clear that he did incite these mobs to come to the White House, sorry, to the Capitol. And I think a lot of it will be partisan. I agree with you, Eric, but I do agree with you that there will be some moderate moderate Republicans who could end up siding, as you said, Kinzinger, and even potentially Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania is also a very moderate Republican who could end up voting with the Democrats here.
And one more point to add that's making this impeachment so, or more bipartisan than the first one. It's an objective fact to say that these Trump supporters and rioters, they caused damage to the Capitol, right? They were smashing windows, they stole Nancy Pelosi's lectern, they wrecked offices, there were papers all over, they left death threats to Nancy Pelosi. So this is a pretty objective thing to call on for impeachment. And also for the fact that there have already been like federal arrests for some of these people who have been photographed stealing stuff and destroying stuff. And, people died, right? This time, one officer died and I think 4 other supporters. So like 5 in total. So like this was a deadly event with the storming of the Capitol, which is why there can be some pickups from Republican Party that support impeachment.
Good point made, and I agree with you on that. Now let's move into the Senate. So we've established that impeaching Donald Trump in the first place is very, very likely to happen, but the Senate is a lot harder. You need to have 66 votes to impeach the president, and it's 66, not 67, because David Perdue, his seat is currently vacant because John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock have not been sworn in yet. But I believe I did my math correctly. Democrats need to have 18 other Republicans side with them to vote to convict President Trump for this to happen. That is a very high bar there. It's very, it's very, very hard to do. I'll say this: it's improbable, but it's not impossible. Looking at it right now, we are seeing some Republicans coming out saying that they do not support Donald Trump in these actions. For example, I pulled up the article here. I was probably surprised that this was the next person to say it. It was Pat Toomey. I expected it to be Susan Collins to come out. The first one was Lisa Murkowski, who came out yesterday. Pat Toomey came out saying that he thought President Trump committed impeachable offenses. And I think that's very interesting to see. President Trump is clearly losing a lot of support among some of the Republicans. And I feel like this was kind of seen during the objection vote when certain senators on January 6th voted to object President Trump, or the results of the 2020 presidential election. Only 6 voted to object Arizona. And I believe only 7 voted to object Pennsylvania. And I was pretty surprised because going into that, before the Capitol storming, a lot of Republicans said they were going to vote against the results. Kelly Loeffler, Marsha Blackburn, even, also Steve Daines. So a lot of these Republicans are no longer having as much support as they had of the president before the storming. And in no way am I saying that they're going to vote to support convicting him. That's probably not going to happen. But what this is showing is that he's losing support among Republicans. And I remember this article yesterday that came out about Lisa Murkowski saying that she wanted Trump to resign. She even started questioning whether or not she should stay in the Republican Party. And yes, there was an article that came out 2 hours ago saying that she would not caucus with the Democrats, but we could see Lisa Murkowski end up caucusing with the independents, or not caucusing with the independent, but being an independent and caucusing with the Republicans. So with Lisa Murkowski coming out saying that she's going to vote against it, that's two so far. Murkowski was obviously expected because she is a moderate, one of the most moderate in the Republican Party. You also have Pat Toomey now. I'm expecting Susan Collins to come out against it. I'm expecting Mitt Romney to also come out against it. So that's 4 already. We could see more Republicans coming out against Donald Trump and voting to convict him. But again, it's very hard to do.
One more senator that I can think of is Ben Sasse. He is from the state of Nebraska, I think.
Mhm.
And he said in a tweet or in a response that he's considering it. So that's potentially one. And let's also talk about something else. It begs the question, why would Democrats and or some Republicans want to impeach Donald Trump twice? What is the point? He was already impeached once. Why do it again with only, let's see, 11 days left? Well, Democrats specifically really want to destroy Donald Trump's reputation as much as possible. Because Donald Trump lost re-election, he can technically run for a second term. And with 2 impeachments, objectively, it is going to be very difficult to come out as a decent figure if you were impeached twice on, some sort of offenses, one being obstruction of justice and withholding aid, and this one on inciting insurrection of the Capitol building. So what Democrats want to do is at least destroy Donald Trump's reputation so he really can't hold any office anymore after what they think was probably the worst presidential term they've seen ever or in a while.
Right. And I think that you're correct on that, in that they're trying to hurt the reputation. Also, I think they are trying to convict him. I mean, it's definitely possible. We counted 5 Republican senators, maybe more come out. Probably not, though. We could see if Donald Trump does get convicted and gets kicked out with 11 days left, he's not going to be able to run in 2024. He's not going to be able to hold public office anymore. And Democrats do want that to happen. They think that Donald Trump was a terrible president. But again, the chances of a conviction happening, although it's very low, it is possible for sure. And that is the end of the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this episode, please hit like, and if you like our content, please hit subscribe. We'll see you in our next episode tomorrow.
See ya.